I'm going to make this video about the First Amendment because it's important. The First Amendment, basically the right to free speech, was written in the context of a people who were being severely oppressed by a totalitarian government who was not allowing them to express their displeasure with said government. This is the context under which the First Amendment was penned. That is largely different than how many people are interpreting the First Amendment today. To wit, tons of artists, celebrities, etc., they interpret it as they are free to say whatever they want, no matter how raunchy, no matter how it affects people, no matter how it influences children, no matter how disgusting and filthy and horrible and trashy it is. They say, well, it's my right under the First Amendment. Those two things are vastly, vastly different. When the Founding Fathers penned the First Amendment and said, the right to free speech shall not be abridged, shall not be clamped down by any government, they were specifically addressing that totalitarian government that was doing specifically that to them, and basically saying, you have to live with our oppressive governing tactics, and you're not allowed to say anything about it. That is vastly different than some narcissistic, selfish, perverted, evil jerks spouting off about the worst possible things in their music, in their podcasts, in their YouTube channels, when they're writing things, when they're making movies, when they're doing art, when they're doing whatever they're doing, and they're just being perverts and racists and you name it, whatever they're doing that is antithetical to Christ, to God, and to his love, which applies to everybody, whether they believe it or not. That is vastly different than what the Founding Fathers envisioned. The Founding Fathers did not pen the First Amendment so that those kind of people could spout off their crap for everybody else to listen to, and then hide behind it as if the Founding Fathers wrote it just for them. You see the difference? There is a huge, huge difference. Okay? Now, I'm going to reference the Bible because I do that a lot on this channel, of course. This channel is about Christ and about God. So, God lives by a very specific principle when it comes to freedom. And he expects us to as well. It's his principle, and he has given it to us in the Bible. The Apostle Paul talks about it in 1 Corinthians 8, 9, and 10. And then he talks about it again in Romans 12. It's the principle of governing your own freedom for the sake of others, right? Tempering your own freedom for how it affects those around you. Okay? And this is like a lost art. If you look into the world today, you hardly see anybody doing this. But what the Apostle Paul was saying was that I am free to do a lot of things because Jesus has set me free, right? But he also knew that though a lot of those things would be wrong things in other people's eyes, even though they weren't wrong to him. And so he said, I'm not going to do those things for the sake of you, for the sake of that person, because I know it's going to wound their conscience. They're going to think I'm doing something bad they're going to be hurt by it. They're going to think I'm endorsing a bad, sinful thing. They're going to think I'm a bad, sinful person. My leadership is going to be damaged. They're not going to want to follow me, etc., etc., etc. The list goes on and on. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to choose not to do that thing for them. For you. Because I care about you more than I care about me. That's what the Apostle Paul is saying. Okay? This is called governing your own freedom out of love for the sake of others. Okay? It's an eternal principle. It never changes. And people who are loving and thoughtful and considerate of others govern and temper their own freedom for the sake of those around them. Okay? The Apostle Paul said it, taught it in the Bible. Jesus, it's his laws, one of his principles comes straight from God. And it's what we're supposed to do. Okay? And all of these celebrities and artists and musicians and all these people, they hardly ever do that. And they run and hide behind the First Amendment saying it's free speech. I'm allowed to be as pathetic and trashy as I want because I'm protected by the First Amendment. When the Founding Fathers wrote the First Amendment in order to guarantee the right to stand up to totalitarian, oppressive governments who were trying to crush them and rule them with an iron fist. Okay? They didn't write the First Amendment so that people could be total dweebs and influence tons of people around them and children with complete crap. That's not what the First Amendment was written for. I have news for all you celebrities, artists, musicians, movie makers, authors, YouTube creators, whoever you are. If you're being that pathetic to hide behind the First Amendment, saying it's free speech, you are missing the spirit of the First Amendment. And you're violating those honorable men who were standing up for nobility, and you are taking what they meant as noble and good and using it for your pathetic, perverted, twisted reasons. Thank you. Actually, I know this video isn't really on the general topics that I speak on this channel. Usually I'm talking about Jesus himself, having a relationship with him, God himself, being in love with him. Okay? But this is a very important topic. So, and a lot of people need to hear this and they need to know this. That is all I have to say. Thank you and have a good day.